Hey, thanks for listening to this Trainer Spotlight episode on FITLETE Radio. My name is George Pagan III. Let's meet our coach.
My name is Ren Collier. I own a business called FitRx, and I've been in the industry for 15 years now. I'm a certified personal trainer. I have a bachelor's degree in health science. I work predominantly with seniors and middle-aged adults. I initially wanted to be a strength conditioning coach for athletes when I got out of college, but quickly learned that I really enjoyed training just everyday people like you and me and helping them get their lives back, whether they lost a step, wanted to lose some weight, or be able to enjoy outdoor or any sort of physical activity with their families. In my business, I work with people one-on-one, semi-private, but I also do like smaller group sessions. I really enjoy building community and being a part of a team and helping people.
I know you're an awesome coach and take your job seriously, but to get to know you a little bit more, can you tell us a funny story about your life that happened outside of coaching?
So back in college, a good friend of mine and I talked a lot about snowboarding. Neither of us had ever been before. We never actually been on the mountain and given it a shot. Well, as the second semester started, this was early February, literally on Valentine's Day, we got hit with what we Vermonters call a nor'easter, or basically just a blizzard. And we got feet of snow, not inches, but feet. And so the whole college campus was shut down for 3 days. They worked around the clock just to keep the roads clear. And I'm sitting in the cafeteria having breakfast, and I get a call from my buddy. He said, "Hey, we're going to go snowboarding." This was me, him, and a few other friends. And so we all piled up into my Jeep Grand Cherokee, kicked it into four-wheel drive, and made the trek through this blizzard to the mountain. And we had to rent a bunch of equipment. I had to borrow a bunch of stuff from my roommate at the time, and we did it. And I mean, the good part about doing it in such a crazy storm was there was a lot of powder to fall on because we both spent a lot of time falling. I'd go about 10 feet, fall, wipe out, and then he'd go about 10 feet in front of me and do the same thing. And this went on for hours. And so we left having a great experience. I mean, we could hardly see a thing, getting down the mountain took quite a while for us, but eventually we managed to stay more upright as the day went on. And it's something I'll never forget. Never been a natural athlete, but I learned a lot that day and we had some fun.
We can't train everyone exactly the same. Our clients come to us having different life experiences and sometimes force us to think outside the box when it comes to their training. As a coach, how do you problem solve with your clients who come to you with some common aches, pains, injuries, some physical limitations, or previous traumas so they can still get the results that they want and the ones that they came to you for?
So this is something that I'm actually diving deeper into right now, taking different courses. I'm in a mentorship right now and got a new certification to help me better understand not just how to work around different injuries and ailments, but how to get somebody to the point where maybe they could do some of the things that they're quote unquote not supposed to do. So the biggest thing that I do is start off with a thorough intake of somebody, asking them about it, what their past pains, injuries, surgeries, chronic conditions might be. And then I take them through a movement assessment to see what sort of things we might need to address or avoid for the time being. Of course, I'll refer out if somebody has some major issue that's outside of my scope of practice. But the biggest thing is to find out what can they do, where can they start. If they can't start off, say, doing a barbell back squat, we do something more like a bodyweight squat, goblet squat, or even some sit to stands, leg presses. We find where the entry point is for that individual, and then we progress over time. In some cases, it might be more of a matter of just managing the weight and overall work or volume of training that they do. And in other cases, you may have to scale back and do some sort of different exercise that agrees with their body and where they are at that time or their training experience. So I've had to work around many different things such as joint replacements, chronic back pain, shoulder pain, and even just fear of doing certain exercises and building someone's confidence in their body's ability to manage different movements or different amounts of load. And it can take time and, take time to basically connect with the person and build some trust to encourage them to then trust themselves and then build up their body and try something new, try something that might be a little scary to them. But that's probably one of the most critical things as a coach that we can do is find out where somebody's starting and then progress them over time and not just stick with, say, one specific exercise, but we do what we can to figure out the necessary steps to take to get them to where they want to go.
Just like we are, most of our clients are spending time on social media and can get information from other people in their family and social circles. When questions come up during coaching calls and training sessions, how do you address some of the common misconceptions around nutrition and exercise with these clients?
Well, the first thing that I might do is if I don't know the answer to something, I tell them. And then I tell them that I will look into it more or refer them to somebody that has that knowledge or is more qualified to educate them. But I do my best to educate on certain things and explain it in a way that's easy to understand. I try not to get into using a lot of jargon and just kind of break things down in the simplest way. Um, and yeah, there's no shortage of misconceptions in fitness and especially nutrition. So taking the time to answer these questions, I think, is important because there's so many different sources. A lot of them are not good sources. And I myself am very careful with who I follow, who I listen to get advice. I try to stay away from people that are just out there to get likes, clicks, attention, whatever it might be, and follow the people that have the education and seem they're not just looking to make a sale. And I think that's important to understand. That's one thing that I definitely one of the most important lessons that I learned from college was to always question things, not listen to the dogma. That's my exercise science teacher actually ingrained that into me. And although I have been caught a few times, kind of going down a rabbit hole and believing things that weren't the greatest. I mean, who hasn't? I've been able to stay away from a lot of fads and trends that weren't really legitimate, if you will. So we can all get caught up in certain things, but I think if we're careful and try to do our due diligence and follow the right people, we can weed through that. And it's only harder these days because back when I learned those lessons of not following the dogma, social media was not what it is today. It was much more basic. I mean, this was like 2008, 2009. So the landscape has only gotten more difficult to navigate and find the right information.
Our clients can come to us for many reasons, and often they tell us in their consultations or new lead questionnaire that they have multiple goals or they're trying to work on a couple of things. Usually it's not just one sole specific thing. How do you approach goal setting with these clients who have multiple objectives when you ask them about what their goals are?
The biggest thing we'll want to do is first get to the why underneath the goal. Why is it that they want to achieve these things? Is it just because it's the answer they thought that the trainer expected to hear, wanted to hear, or is it being motivated by something that, is it something they even really want to accomplish? And then once we get to the root of why, then we figure out, okay, are these two or more goals realistically going to be able to coexist? In other words, can we train for these things together so that they both progress over time? And if no, I mean, like in certain cases, they might be completely opposite of one another. Like I want to compete in a powerlifting meet and I want to break state or national records. Well, that's going to be completely different than I want to run and compete in a marathon. I want to compete at the highest level. Like those two things would be, completely they completely contradict each other. So we got to make sure first that they're viable together. So, I mean, I think one of the most common things is somebody wants to tone up, they want to, tone their body, build some muscle, and they want to lose body fat. Okay, great. So both of those can be done together. It's just going to take more time. It's going to be a slower process, but it is absolutely doable. And you go about taking the steps. Okay, how do you need to train? How much of this training time needs to be allocated towards this goal? Okay, you want to be able to also go for hikes with your kids. Okay, so we'll put a little bit of time into some conditioning and endurance. So making sure that the two or more goals are able to coexist with each other, getting down to the reason behind why they want to accomplish them will be really important in order to guide the training and whatever else you do outside of that, nutrition wise, recovery wise. And that will ultimately help you balance whatever you need to in order to achieve those different goals.
I believe all coaches should have similar baseline knowledge before starting to work with people. And I'm building FITLETE to help bridge some of these gaps that exist in our exposure to education. What experiences or qualifications do you think are crucial for coaches to have in order to deliver the best service they can for their clients?
One of the biggest learning experiences for me was just through getting out there and training. After I got my degree and certification, I thought I knew a lot and I thought I was the best trainer out there, even though I had no experience. And one of the biggest things that I tell coaches, especially newer coaches, is work with seniors. Even if you don't plan on working with them as a long-term career, you're going to be exposed to a lot of different things, a lot of different ailments, injuries, long medical histories, things like that. You'll learn quickly how to modify things, adapt on the fly. I mean, you can only learn so much from a book. A book can show you how a squat should look or how to coach a squat, but what if somebody can't physically do that? Then what? Then what do you do? And there's probably more education out there than when I started, so you could find things like that. But there is so much you learn just by getting into the industry. Now, with that being said, I think certain things are critical to understand, like basic nutrition, macros, micros, understanding things like calories in versus calories out, understanding basic anatomy and physiology, how the human body moves, and also the metabolism, things like that, like the different energy systems of the body is critical when it comes to understanding and programming things for people like cardiovascular adaptations, high intensity training, strength training. Having some understanding of those basic things can go a long way. Now, do you need to go get a 4-year degree or a master's degree in that? Not necessarily. There's a lot of different ways you can go about it now to get education. Like I'm in a mentorship right now that's helping me a lot. But without the basic knowledge that I did get years ago from college, I would have a much harder time understanding and learning the things that I need to. So different things like that. But then also how to work with people, how to work with people, how to connect with people. Because I'll tell you, the coaches that usually get the most business are the ones, they're not necessarily the most knowledgeable or the most experienced, but they're the ones that can connect with people, make people feel comfortable, feel good. And then, yes, also get them results too. But if you're not connecting with people and, polishing your social skills, you're not going to get very far in this industry.
Our industry is evolving every step of the way, and we're getting to the point where it's essential to have some sort of technology within your business for both the experiences you can deliver for your clients and your ability to grow sustainably. How do you use technology to assist you in your coaching as a coach and behind the scenes as a coach that nobody really sees?
Technology is definitely more not as much of a strength of mine, for sure. Now, I know how to use social media, and I've done so over the years to help educate people and try to expand my reach, market myself, and help others. I've also used things like MailChimp for email marketing and education as well, and I've used AI to assist me in making ads and whatnot. And so those things have definitely helped, and the industry is definitely growing, and technology is more and more involved with that. I don't use technology really for things like programming or anything like that. So it's definitely an area that I could probably improve upon. I'm a little bit old school. I like a nice, good old fashioned composition notebook to write my own workouts and track a lot of my clients' workouts as well. But there's definitely room for growth there, I believe. Now, is that something that's critical for our industry? Absolutely. If you're somebody that owns a business, especially, I mean, it's pretty difficult to keep up with somebody using AI if you don't. And social media can, definitely in today's landscape is more important than ever. But I think it's also good to remember too that word of mouth and just being really good at your job and connecting with people are still the most important things that you could be good at. I have not gotten a lot of clients from social media or online. I've gotten a couple people over like on Google that have looked me up, but for the most part, they're referrals from clients that have been with me for a period of time and have talked me up to their friends or colleagues. And so definitely, having a website and having at least some sort of social media presence, I think is important for people to check you out, people that are not necessarily in direct contact with you. But I think at the end of the day, unless you're an online coach, which I'm not really, unless you're an online coach, and the biggest things are still going to be word of mouth and just providing people with the best experience possible, connecting with people, getting people results, and building a great experience for people and a great community too.
Ren, thank you so much for coming on and sharing some great info about yourself. I met Ren on the last day of the second Raise the Bar conference in Dallas. I believe it was through Jackson Lohr, who I actually had on in an earlier episode. Ren and I had a lot of similarities in our introduction to the industry. We found that out in our brief introduction we had in person. And then we also train some of the same people, like same type of people. And I thought his experience in training older individuals I related to a lot, since I've trained people from, ages 10 through early 70s. And I found that experience to be really enlightening into how I work with a lot of other people throughout the ages. I have enjoyed watching Ren take some chances on himself since getting to know him further through social media and listening to him on some other episodes of my friends' podcasts. I'm glad you got to know him a little bit more through this episode. Check the show notes to see how to connect with him best. That's all for this episode. If you want to learn more about FITLETE and our resource nexus for coaches and personal trainers, visit fitlete.com. That's FITLETE.com. Thanks. I'll talk to you soon.